2.87. 3.03. 3.46. 4.74. 3.21. Ooh, a long line of mysterious numbers. Mysterious numbers, what could they possibly be? What could they possibly refer to? What mysterious code does any of this affect my life? Well, as you know by now, Christine and I just got back from vacation. Pulling a little single axle trailer behind a Chevy Traverse, getting 12.5 miles per gallon. What could those numbers mean? Yes, you probably guessed it. Crossing the state line from Illinois into Missouri, Missouri into Iowa, and then back into Illinois. What are those pesky gas prices? What are those gas prices? Well, we left Illinois, and gas was about $3.46, $3.46 a gallon. That's the average today, by the way. I went to the AAA auto site and looked it up. They got a really neat map of the United States of America. You could actually rest your mouse on different states, and it'll tell you what the gas prices are in each state. $3.46 today. Then you cross over into Missouri. Oh my goodness, the gas prices drop 60 cents a gallon. How does $2.87 sound to you? Pretty good. Pretty good when you're going up and down them hills and hollers of the Mark Twain forest, pulling a trailer behind a Chevy Traverse, and then you cross over into Iowa, $3.03. And then I don't know why that Mississippi has such an effect on gas prices, but you come over from Burlington, Iowa, you cross that bridge, and all of a sudden, boom, it goes back up 40 more cents a gallon. What an incredible mystery. And you may not know it unless you travel from state to state to state like we did. Now I guess you could go all the way out to California. Yeah, in California, they're paying $1.30 more a gallon than we are. $4.74, and then the national average is $3.21. So we're a quarter more than the national average. Those are the mysterious numbers. Make you mad? Does it make you mad? You're sitting there mad yet? Are you frustrated yet? If you're like me, you're probably asking questions like, well, why? I bet you I know what it is. I'll bet you, oh my gosh, you know what it is? Illinois is just farther away from the refineries. That's it. Those truckers got to bring it some extra distance up here, so we got to throw a little bit more in there. What's an extra 40, 60 cents a gallon? I mean, after all, Missouri's far away, isn't it? Maybe it's the roads in Illinois. That's got to be it. You know, we just got bad roads in Illinois, and they just don't connect right. So those truckers, they just got to drive a little further. I'm sure that's it. I'm sure that's what it is. I'm sure that's why you and I are paying 60 cents more a gallon than they are in Missouri, which is one state away from us. Yeah, you can ask a lot of questions, can't you? And it's just kind of fun. I mean, I've got a little frustration in my voice, but I think some amusement there as well. There's got to be a reason. Wonder why. As Christians, we're called to keep cool heads. Probably in situations that are more serious than gas prices. And oh my gosh, don't even look at the diesel prices. Woo! Yeah, we are asked to keep cool heads. We're asked to ask questions constructively when we're in a Christian community. Well, why is this? Well, what is that? But we're always reminded to ask questions constructively, to really want to know. Why? Let's get to the bottom of a problem. And then, of course, we all have differences, don't we? We all think about the world in different ways. So we're all called to work together and get along with one another in spite of differences. Hard to do. We're to work together in spite of differences. It's a hard thing to do. It's thankless, and it's also sometimes seemingly empty. Do you know why the ounce of prevention is always harder to do than the pound of cure? Because if you do the ounce of prevention, you never really ultimately know whether it was necessary. Because things didn't fall apart, and people didn't end up at each other's throats. That's why giving the ounce of prevention is oftentimes a thankless job. Isn't that interesting? Problems occur, and we love our fixers, don't we? We love our fixers. We love people who come in and fix things. But what about the people who said, well, you know, if we do A, we don't need to get to B and C and have it end up as D. Those folks are usually thankless or unthanked, aren't they? How do we know the remedy actually worked? We look at our lessons today, and we see all kinds of things today in our lessons. We go to our first reading from Jeremiah chapter 11, and boy, do we see this coming out. Hopefully quotes like this: follow the money. Occam's razor. You know what Occam's razor is, right? We usually try to come up with all kinds of fanciful reasons as to why things are the way they are. Gas prices in Illinois probably has to do with the location of the sun shining down on those cornfields and soybean fields. And no, usually Occam's razor is the most obvious answer, is usually the one that's right. Once again, not a very exciting or glamorous proposition. And then there's always that aha moment, right? You ever have that happen in your life where you're trying to address a problem and nobody seems to see anything your way, and you're like, goodness gracious, it's so obvious. Why am I the only one who sees the solution? And then you find out that really it's not about that. It's about somebody's Aunt Gracie or somebody's Uncle Bob, or somebody 20 years ago yelled at somebody else, and things you don't even know about are affecting people's decisions. What the heck's going on here? Yeah, we asked that question. Let's go to our first reading. What is Jeremiah talking about? Jeremiah is looking ahead, right? Jeremiah is the book in the Bible where God says, now I am going to do a new thing. And this is the new thing. Jeremiah is talking about Jesus the Christ. But I was like a gentle lamb led to the slaughter, and I did not know it was against me that they devised schemes. That's what I was just talking about, right? The ounce of prevention, how that person usually never gets the credit. But you, O Lord of hosts, who judge righteously, who try the heart and the mind, let me see your retribution upon them, for to you I have committed my cause. In all things we are called to remain steadfast. And don't get caught up on this, let me see your retribution upon them. What are we talking about? Evil. Evil. Sometimes the them is not people. Although in the book of Jeremiah it is. It's the nations around Israel that are seeking to come in and destroy it. Sometimes the them can be not necessarily people, but situations, ideas, concepts, trouble, disease, financial setback. That can be the them. We're always called to have God on our side and be committed in our hearts and our minds to the ways that God would have us do things. Let's go to our gospel. What's Jesus doing today? Oh, goodness gracious, Jesus is only sharing with his 12 disciples the plan of salvation. He's only laying upon them the gospel. That should be a good thing, right? They should be very excited about this. They should just be enwrapped in everything that Jesus is saying, right? Just their ears wide open. And they should just have question upon, well, Jesus, how's this? Well, Jesus, when is this? Well, Jesus, and what do we read? He's teaching his disciples, saying to them, the Son of Man is to be betrayed into human hands. They will kill him. 3 days after being killed, he will rise again. There's that gospel. But they did not understand what he was saying and were afraid to ask him. I don't understand gas prices. Do I ever ask about them? Well, let's see why I'm paying 60 cents more than they're paying in Missouri. I wonder why. Funny little example, a silly example, but do we ask one another questions? Do we open up avenues for conversation? Because when we do that, and we start to ask questions, and we're not afraid of the answers, like the disciples are today in Mark chapter 9, we learn things, and if we still disagree, we can say, you know what, but at least I see where they get it. I don't agree with it, but I understand where they get it. And usually the understanding comes from a person's life story. Their fears, their concerns, their worries. And then can we continue in a way that is ministry? We go to our second reading for today. Our second reading today, it's all about God's power. And really the only way that we can stand above the fray, really the only way that we can kind of get above the bickering and the fighting and the distrust, is to put our faith in that which is sure, that which is good, that which is eternal, and that is the power of God. We go to our second reading for today. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield. Willing to yield? Really? Full of mercy and good fruits, without a trace of partiality or hypocrisy. But I want things my way. And I have to tell a little lie in order to get it. Well, I'm the good guy. They just got to put up with it. Oh boy, look what James tells us today. The wisdom from above. The wisdom from above. Now you notice the word wisdom is used, not intelligence, right? Intelligence is book smarts, the ability to take a test. Like for example, I can go to a book and I can tell you today, hopefully, what the rain is all about. I can tell you that the clouds come up from lakes and oceans and soar over my head, and eventually they become so condensed that water falls out of them, and you can tell that I'm not terribly scientific in explaining this to you, but I can take that route. I can tell you about cumulus clouds, cirrus clouds, I'm trying to remember everything from 8th grade, stratus clouds. I can tell you about all that. That's intelligence, but wisdom is saying, oh gee, it's raining, I better go inside or I'm going to catch a cold. The ability to come in from out of the rain. See, in love, we're called to have wisdom. Because wisdom is about action. It's not just about words. Wisdom is about doing things. Wisdom is about making a difference. Wisdom is about loving one another and caring for one another and nurturing one another, because we all see one another as God's children. And when we do that, that changes everything. It even changes the way that we pray and the relationship that we have with God. Verse 2, you do not have because you do not ask. You ask and you do not receive because you ask wrongly in order to spend what you get on your pleasures. Is James being a party pooper here? No. What James is doing is he's sharing wisdom with us. If you put all of your eggs in the basket of pleasure, you're never going to be happy. You're never going to be satisfied. The cup is never going to be entirely full. Because as soon as you achieve one thing, you're going to be looking at the guy or the gal above you who has that, you're going to want that. You're never going to be content. So don't ask for such things in and of themselves. Instead, submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil. He will flee from you. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. What do we ask for? The ultimate definition of wealth is not the person who has everything. The ultimate definition of wealth is the person who is content with what they have. Now that doesn't mean stay in your stay in your class, or we're not talking about any of that. It doesn't mean don't send your kids to college. It doesn't mean try to get a better job if you can. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a thing of the heart. Contentment. Are you content with what the Lord has blessed you with? Because through contentment comes sharing. It's a fact. The rich usually give very little. It's the middle class and the poor, believe it or not, who give the most. Now you can play all kinds of mathematical games with that, but it's about generosity through contentment. Contentment, and true contentment comes from God. So those gas prices, can you drive down to Missouri and gas up and then come back? No, probably not. Peoria, Illinois. I had fun just in closing. Where are you from? Peoria, Illinois. It's in the middle of the state. Is it near Chicago? Is it near Rockford? I don't know why people always know where Rockford is, for goodness sakes. It's a little south of that. Call it the heart of Illinois. But it's the headquarters, I think it still is, the headquarters of Caterpillar Tractor. I don't know, there was words about that heading up to Chicago, I don't know. And then they go, oh yeah, Caterpillar Tractor, yeah, I know that. Well, we're blessed to be here in the sense that we're blessed to be with one another. God has placed us here in this time and in this place. Let's bless one another with the wisdom from above that is pure, peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits, without a trace of partiality or hypocrisy.